Tom.
Peter.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. It's our last episode of the season, and I want to start with just a little bit of a checkup for you because I know how excited you are about AI.
Oh, God. Yep.
So,
and drone swarms. Drone swarms. Yeah.
I love my Apple TV. This is an aside. We're going to get to the main story in a second. I love it so much, and I was trying to watch this movie, 8 Million Ways to Die, this old Oliver Stone movie, and it's a trash film. That's not the point. But I said to the lady, I pushed the little button, and I said, find 8 Million Ways to Die. And you know what she did, Tom?
What?
It sounds like you need somebody to talk to. Here's the National Suicide Hotline.
Oh, no. And you were in such bad straits, you didn't want just one.
No, I needed all of them.
8 million? What?
Right.
Oh, my God.
I do not envy the person on the other end of that call. That's tough.
Because you have to tell them not to do it 8 million, like for each one.
Different ways. This is not a funny bit. It's mostly that Siri was really looking out for me all 8 million ways. It's actually Oliver Stone. Oof, rough. No, this is a different thing. A way to use AI and talk about disease. Are you ready?
Okay.
BBC. You know how we love the BBC. They report of some folks at the University of Liverpool, UK, who used their fancy AI computer things to predict not how the coronavirus is going, but what are we going to find with the next pandemic? What?
We're already talking about the next one?
Yes, it's become
it's so trendy.
Like
pandemics are so trendy.
Yeah, it's like where's the iPhone 15? We're getting rumors out of China and Vietnam. No, so they threw a whole bunch of data at this fancy computer, and here's what they're looking for. They say that they are looking at opportunities for viruses to happen through recombination between two existing viruses. So two viruses affect the same cell and combine into a daughter virus that is an entirely new strain. And they're looking at, so what they do is they throw all these animals and all of the viruses known to all of these animals, and they look at which viruses inside of which animals are possible to recreate, right? And so what they found was links between 411 strains of coronavirus and 876 potential mammal species, right? Like chicken, horse, cat, cow, pig, because all of them are these zootropic viruses, right? They're bats. In an animal, bats, and they come out and bats. They get into people and then they wreak havoc. So what they came up with, so that was the whole point. The predictive step was trying to find species that are able to harbor many of these viruses at the same time.
Oof.
I know.
And they're putting them all in a room together? That seems like the worst part.
It's a computer, Tom. Computer.
This is all hypothetical.
No,
okay, got it.
But I have answers, and this is what I want you to look out for, because we found that, first of all, we know that now many more mammals are potential hosts for new coronaviruses than they ever thought. That's bad news.
Good.
There are a lot of terrible animals who don't even know how bad they are. But at the very top, the Asian palm civet and the greater horseshoe bat are predicted to be host to 32 and 68 different coronaviruses, respectively. And in species,
but they just don't get sick because they're like just used to it?
Yeah, they're just used to it. Now, the common hedgehog and the European rabbit and the dromedary camel, the algorithm predicted that SARS-CoV-2 might recombine with other existing coronavirus. So if you are in a room with a palm civet, a greater horseshoe bat, a hedgehog, European rabbit, or a dromedary camel, back out slowly.
Yeah. What's a European rabbit? Is that just like a pretentious rabbit?
Yeah, I mean, when it eats carrots, it has its little pinky out. Welcome to What's That Smell, a sometimes funny podcast about humans and their anxieties. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Tommy Metz III.
And each and every week we drag one of our deepest, darkest anxieties into the light to share it, learn about it,
and hopefully laugh about it with all of you.
Off the rails already. Last episode.
Why I said my name like that. And I know you missed the third. Just became like a clown person.
Reach out. Go to whatsthatsmell.net. Send us a story of your anxieties. There's a little button right at the top. And if you push it, you can write us. And we get your anxieties now. It's like magic. It's amazing. This is our very last episode, though.
Of this season.
Of this season. Yeah. Of this season.
We will be back.
We'll be back. We've decided we'll be back again. And so please just hang tight. If you submit something over the break, know that it will be in our season 6 list of anxieties to celebrate with you. And with that, I'll go first. Tom, how's your twofers?
My teeth are good. I mean, I went in last time, and I haven't had a cavity since I moved to California. And I have a dental. I have a night guard though. Apparently, the one thing that I'm doing is really grinding at night, and so I have one. Yeah. And I think I told you this. I chewed through the first one. Like it was made of something that maybe it was just like, I think it was like a fruit roll up. Like that lasted a day, and now they have one that's made up of like concrete, and it's doing great.
It was made out of a fruit roll up. That's horrible.
Like instantly. Yeah, I'm really going to town on it. Yeah,
I have I just have a horrible. Teeth are so sensitive, right? They're just horrible. I mean, I love my teeth.
Well, in an earlier episode, like from the first season or something, you said you hadn't gone to the dentist in like 7 years.
I did. No, it was longer than that. I went a very, very long time, and I was terrified about going back to the dentist. And a lot of that is around the needle stuff. And I now have a dentist that I'm very, very pleased with. But I just had a horrible dental twofer story. I got a kernel stuck up in there between the popcorn kernel, but I thought I'd gotten it out, and I've been flossing and flossing and flossing. I've been doing all the right stuff. Dentist.
Okay.
And my gums were getting inflamed, and I could just I'd look at them funny, they'd start bleeding, and it was terrible. It was awful. And then one day I have one of these little perio aids, you know about these things to massage my gums?
No.
Yeah, you put a little toothpick in there, and you can reach back into it. And it knocked out this kernel that apparently my flossing was pushing it further up. Yeah, right. Ugh. That's all fine now. Don't worry about it, though. It's all fine. I mean, within 6 hours, it was resolved. It was fine.
Oh.
So it's fine. I'm sorry if my dentist is listening to this, Christine. I'm sorry to tell you to
Dr. Christine.
Yeah, it's really rough. So I can't believe that after all these many moons, I don't think we've talked directly about odontophobia.
We haven't?
Is that possible?
That's absolutely possible. We're a bunch of idiots. Didn't we I feel like every episode this time we've we've never talked about this?
well,
wow.
And that's why I would like to introduce to you, sir, a listener submission.
Oh, from Dr. Christine?
I wonder what my dentist's phobias are. God, if she's scared of herself, that's rough.
Every day she catches herself in the mirror. She's like, oh!
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. This comes from listener Melissa, who says, I am terrified of going to the dentist. I have no idea what it is that causes the anxiety, but I avoid the dentist like Pete avoids needles and being buried alive. Thanks for being a dedicated listener, Melissa. To my recollection, I can't remember any scarring incidents that would cause my anxiety, but just the thought of calling the office to schedule an appointment puts my stomach in knots, and I really need to go to the dentist, too. I've had a broken tooth for much too long, but I seem to want to deal with the daily discomfort rather than spend a single hour at El Dentisto.
Wow.
She didn't say El Dentisto. That was me putting a little spin on it.
Yeah, getting a little English on it.
Yeah, really. Yeah. So where do you stand now on the dentist? I know that you're doing fine. Your teeth are fine. Do you have any of the dental fear that you can relate to?
I really like my dentist and my dentist team, but I hate going to the dentist. To the fact that, because you go like every 6 months, when they call me and they say, hey, it's around time, you can come. I'm like, it's been 2 months. I at one point thought that they had me tripled up in things like there was Tom Metz and Tommy Metz and Tama Metz or something like that. Because I was like, I was just there last week. That's how much of sort of a impact it makes.
Yeah.
And it's also home to my least, I think maybe my least favorite noise in the entire world, which is that
the drill.
The drill. I've never had a drill that I, for years and years and years, but it's always in the other room. And I'm feeling like I go out to my car and I check my backseat for the drill. Yeah.
I definitely relate to that. For me, it was, getting over the hump to that was talking to my dentist about it and saying, look, I have a real problem with the needle part especially. And now she does this incredible sleight of hand thing that when I need to be numbed up, she does it in a way that like she's so fast or she's got a perfectly clear needle thing. I just don't see it. And she like scoots it up under my chin and it's in before I can even see it. And everything's fine. She's really quite an expert.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The reason odontophobia comes up, though, obviously, it is incredibly difficult. And not only that, this isn't just a made up thing. Like it's a real thing and it's listed in the DSM, right? This is a real and legit thing that so many people experience that a lot of research is done on it. And the problem is that there is a cycle of dental fear, right?
Cycle. Okay.
A cycle of dental fear. So it starts with the dental fear. You're scared of going to the dentist, right?
Seems like a good place to start.
Yeah, it's a very good place to start. Then you delay visiting the dentist.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yep.
Right? So you hold off.
You put it off.
Yeah, you put it off. You're fine. But then you break a tooth. Or you pop a filling, or your gums are inflamed.
You're flossing a kernel into your brain.
You're flossing a kernel right into your optic nerve. Yeah. And that's your dental problem. That's the problem. And then you go into symptom-driven treatment. And that's where a lot of people have trouble because symptom-driven treatment is so much more invasive and painful in many, many cases than just going in for your regular cleanings and the occasional cavity, right?
What's an example of that?
A root canal.
Symptom doodah
right. I'm just saying, like, if you have dental problems, if you have a broken tooth and need a replacement and need an implant, need whatever you need, if you don't care for your teeth, if you delay visiting and getting your teeth cleaned, then they have to go in and actually fix problems that did not exist had you gone to the dentist the first time. Right, exactly.
It's preventative.
It is exactly preventative. And so that is, I can't, it'd been over a decade since I had been to the dentist and I came away without a single filling. Since then, I've had many. I don't know how that is. The more I care for my teeth, the more I have little tiny fillings. But I still am going regularly now because, I know that I already played that lottery ticket. You know what I mean? Like I'm clearly I have work to do. So, we're looking at trying to figure out a way to get past that anxiety. And of course, what do you think everybody says? They all say, there was a scarring thing in your youth, right? You had a bad dentist and they hurt you. And now you've associated that with your experience in the chair.
But that's interesting because I do have a fear of it. And I know now, like, I have to run at it. Like, I'm scared. And so as soon as they call, I'm like, yes, I'll go. And I just sort of don't think about it. And then I go and I get it over with. But it is definitely something I have to run at, meaning like with my quote unquote teeth gritted. But I never really had a bad experience growing up. When I grew up in Boulder, Colorado, my dentist would, I think, give like laughing gas in the waiting room. Like he was crazy about not having pain. And so I just had like tons of laughing gas all the time for everything.
That's
I'm starting to think he might not have been a dentist. So I'm just pointing that out.
Worry.
I'm just pointing out that, I didn't have a scarring thing and yet it's still there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it is fascinating, and some of those behaviors are you might not know what they are, and you might not know that you're even experiencing them until you're in the middle of them. In fact, I found this great journal article that I've been reading, and I don't know anything about dentistry, but I sure do know the feeling of dental anxiety. Strategies to manage patients with dental anxiety and dental phobia, a literature review, and I've been going through it, and it turns out one of the recommendations is these are the things that as a dentist you need to train yourself to see in your patients, right? You need to see both the psychophysiological responses and the behavioral and emotional responses to their experience in your office. Things like when they're in the chair, does it appear that their muscles are tight? Like, is their body tense, right? Are their hands unsteady or shaking? Are they restless? Do they clear their throat a lot? Look at their carotid and temporal arteries as they're in the chair. Do you see pulsation in these arteries?
Listen carefully. Are they screaming?
Do they hold things tight?
Visibly fighting you off from the chair?
Well, like, I'm a guy, I make fists and I dig my fingernails into the meat of my hands. Like, I'm that guy when I get my shots and those kinds of things. When they're doing anything, when the drill sound comes on, I wound myself as a distractive thing. But those things they're looking for, right? Is there a strong startle response? I don't know about this one. Frequent urination. I mean, I guess if they have to keep getting up, that one felt weird to me. Yeah. Are they hyperactive? Are they walking or talking faster? It appear they're in a hurry. Are they irritated with you with delays from sitting in the waiting room too long? Are they blushing? Watch them and see if they're blushing. Right? Are they talkative or do they avoid people? Like, how are they on the social scale? All of these things, dentists should train themselves to watch for in order to mitigate the anxiety response of your patients. And in fact, there are a lot of questionnaires and scales that they can apply, and this literature review has a ton of them. These anxiety questionnaires to sort of gauge from the patient response, like how do you do with the dentist? Really, how do you feel with the dentist? But the bottom line comes down to the responsibility is on the dentist to set you at ease. If you're anxious about going to the dentist, you need to find a dentist that is ready, willing, and able to cater to your anxieties, right? That's hard to do if your anxiety is not wanting to pick up the phone and call the dentist, but incredibly important.
I guess I live in Los Angeles. We're lousy with dentists out here. I can throw a rock and I'll hit a dentist. But I guess, like, if you're from a smaller town, you might be limited.
Yeah. True. So we're talking about, like, what are the things that people are nervous about when they go to the dentist, right? I mean, they may just be nervous about the dentist because dentists are like lawyers and doctors and accountants that people are generally scared of because it's probably going to be bad news. So that might be the central part of the phobia. It could be the pain. It just, things when you happen to the dentist, it just hurts. Even if you're getting a cleaning, some things get poked around and it kind of hurts. Right. That's like the baseline. And
even just having to keep your mouth open can really hurt because you don't use those muscles very much.
Absolutely. And then, leveling up, numbness. Some people are incredibly nervous about the act of getting numb or gagging, having to hold your mouth open that long. The sounds and smells, we've talked about the sounds, but things stink at the dentist. When they start drilling tooth, that stinks. I know, right? And of course, there's the perennial favorite, needle phobia. So those are the kind of the major categories that lead to potential complications at the dentist's office. And those are things that cause an increased level of anxiety. Other is the frustration that comes with being spoken to when people's hands are in your mouth, when you're like, that is a real social anxiety.
Yeah.
Right?
Because, like, how are you supposed to? Yeah.
I imagine you're a real showman.
I hate it when usually they're pretty good, but my old dentist would always say, I can really sense your gears turning. And all I'm thinking about is, I wish I was home. I wish I was home. I wish I was home. But but she would ask questions in the middle of it, and she was so lovely. But I would just be like, like, I don't
Do they use dental dams on you? The dental dam?
What's
you
that?
Probably haven't had it. It's a thing where if you're having a filling, it's a big rubber plate, right? Or it's a rubber piece of rubber. It's just a big piece of rubber. They cut a hole in it and they put it over your tooth and then put this big like Hellraiser device.
Oh no!
So that
I know what you're talking.
Yeah.
Oh, a dental. Right. I thought that was something else. Yes, correct.
Maybe I'm using the wrong word.
Well, that's
anyway.
it's also prophylactic.
Yeah, we're gonna go. It's also a bat. So
right.
the I hate that the most, and I think my dentist knows. They troll me and they start like once they put the dental dam in, and I truly can't speak. They start talking about movies. That's
great.
That's the worst. Anyway, so they start talking about the things that give you anxiety, and that's really important, is to figure out what is it? What is the specific element about going to the dentist that you hate? Like, you've got to figure that out. They've got to be willing to talk to you about it. Find a dentist that is willing to have that conversation, because in large part, they don't know when, they probably, maybe they're trying to look at the biophysiological kind of responses that you're seeing. Maybe they're trying to be kind to that, but if you don't tell them specifically what is in your head, they will not know, and they will not be able to accommodate it. You have to be able to talk to them about it, and they will. They'll help you.
It sounds like it's akin to when we did an episode about going to therapy.
Yeah.
That you're not stuck with someone. And let them know ahead of time. If you're nervous about therapy, that should be the first thing that you should tell your therapist. If you're nervous about dentistry, there's no reason to pretend to be a big brave boy.
No,
if inside you're dying. Yeah.
Suzanne tells Harvard, I listen to a headset with laugh aloud funny books or podcasts while I'm in the waiting room, because just sitting in the waiting room causes anxiety. I find if I laugh a lot before I go into the chair, I generally feel better and I'm able to relax. Heather tells Harvard, I bring my iPod and play nice music. Nancy,
Heather. That's so Heather.
Nancy tells Harvard, have the dentist explain everything before doing it. Make the patient become the assistant. This one I thought you would like, such as asking the patient to hand me this or that, or make sure there's a nice scent in the treatment. Like, hand me this or that. I don't think I would have ever gone there with the.
Hey, can you just wrap this cavity up? I just want to see how you're doing. I don't know about that.
Great. Yeah, no, that seems a little shaky. Blaine says, my dentist has televisions situated on the ceiling of the office so that when he leans his patients back, they're able to watch TV. It's a decent distraction. Smart. Yeah. Do you ever have any of that experience?
Never.
No.
I've never had any of that.
I feel like there are also now these like super like future dentists that are doing like VR headset stuff. They really go to great lengths to distract you. And as I'm searching for all this, I find Dr. Helen.
What if your VR was just of going to the dentist?
It was just you, but in your own mouth, watching what's going on.
Right. You're the dentist. Yeah. And you're having to do these horrible things to your teeth. Oh my God, what a VR nightmare.
Oh, yeah. That's it. We can make $1 billion off of that game. We need to stop podcasting. We're doing it wrong.
Sorry, so you had a specific doctor.
Dr. Helen on her website, she's in Australia, and her number one thing that she is pitching for her dental practice is, when you come to my dental office, I'm gonna put you to sleep.
Oh, we have some of those out here.
I imagine that is a popular thing. And so have you ever been knocked out at the dentist?
No, just with laughing gas.
Okay. All right.
That's
so you're
not
happy,
knocked out.
At least.
You're still out.
Yeah, you're still
exactly.
You're happy. No, I've never been knocked out at the dentist, but the fact that they are just it's kind of like, I don't know, don't horse dentists do that too? Like big animal dentists, it's like you got to put a lion to sleep to do their dental work. That's kind of what it feels like. We're just doing it to each other now, just knocking each other out because you can't get I don't want to be bit by that big angry Pete sitting in the chair. Yeah, no, it's good. Thank you, Melissa, for hanging out with us through this conversation and submitting your anxiety.
Thank you, Melissa. And of course, know that, what Pete said, you are absolutely not alone. And the more that, unfortunately, A, you can talk to your dentist about it, and then B, the more that you really think about it as being preventative instead of, it's kind of like, if you wait to drink water until you're thirsty, it's already too late. Well, it's not too late. You're just dehydrated. I don't know why I'm putting you on a desert.
They do recommend working out hand signals with your doctor or with your dentist. I've never done this either, but it makes me feel like I'm a Navy SEAL, right? Like, make a fist and then two fingers, go. Yeah. Like, drill, drill. Yeah.
Just
no, you
sign
should do
language for I hate you. His name is Steve Henson, and while you might not recognize him by name, you have surely crossed paths with his vastly popular contribution to the world. Henson was born in tiny Thayer, Nebraska in 1918. At 16 years old, under the impact of the Depression, he rode the rails to California, where he worked at various occupations until, in 1949, he and his wife Gail moved to Alaska. There, he enjoyed success as a plumbing contractor in and around Anchorage. After retiring, he and his wife moved to Santa Barbara, where they purchased a farmstead with plans to open it up to guests as a vacation spot, offering fishing, hiking, and home-cooked meals. Guests were particularly fond of an edible invention created by Steve back when he was feeding his hungry work crews in Alaska and trying to keep them happy. It was a condiment made with buttermilk and mayonnaise and was mixed with herbs and spices such as garlic, onion, pepper, and parsley. Mr. Henson would pour it over salads. By the way, the name of the Henson's farmstead? Hidden Valley Ranch. The rest is history, as word of his ranch dressing spread and by the 1970s became popular worldwide. Quick side note, one article I read to research this segment included the quote, "Ranch dressing's tang is used to liven up foods from corn chips to fried zucchini." And that just felt so oddly specific, I wanted to put that in this thing, because I'm pretty sure that writer was hungry for battered zucchini that day. Anyways, Steve Henson's contribution to the world started small but had significant effect for his fellow man, enriching the lives and salads of everyone worldwide. Want your chance to make a small contribution that will have a positive effect on your fellow man? Why not go to whatsthatsmell.net and join our ever-growing legion of Panic Pals? Yes, it's the end of the season, but it's not too late to become a Panic Pal. For just a one-payment, non-renewing of $35, you will support the time and expenses for this entire production and the extra episodes that we will be doing in the break before Season 6. That's right. You will have access to all of the live streams we've done this season. You will have access to members only, like the ones I just mentioned, or like the COVID sessions and other bonus material. You will receive a sticker and a certificate of best friendship signed by both Peta and I, and of course, you will be a part of making America just a little bit better. America, let's say the world. So get our undying love by becoming a Panic Pal. Go to whatsthatsmell.net. It is not too late to join, and together we will solve anxiety for the world. All right, back to the show. Peta, I think we can both agree that stories about drug experiences are pretty much on par with telling someone about a dream you had. Did you think about that? Like, they're generally confusing and they don't translate well to the listener. It's the ultimate of
Are you setting us up for a drug story for the first time?
Well, that being said, I have a drug story to tell you about me. But you and listeners, please know, I promise it will be brief. It does not glorify drug use. And at the end, there's a real twist.
Oh, I love your twists. Okay.
Ready?
Go.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to start this brief but harrowing tale with a question. Pete, did you know that some people get really sick when they mix alcohol and marijuana?
Yeah. I think I did know that.
And I didn't. All right. This happened many, many, many years ago when I lived in my old apartment building near UCLA. A group of friends and I had taken cabs home from a bar, and someone suggested we go back to the back alley to smoke, a jazz cigarette. My experience with pot had been extremely rare and not very enjoyable, but a friend, we'll call him Friend A, who was very well versed with pot, said that they'd tell me how to do it correctly, that I was probably just not doing it right. So we're in the alley, and per his suggestion, I'm timing my inhales with my friend who's leading me through it. Oops, here's the catch. As I said, he was very well versed and I wasn't. And what occurred to neither of us is that our tolerances were vastly different. And I was on his wavelength. Anyways, we're all taking turns. Nothing is happening. And then wham! It all hits me like a ton of bricks. And it it tackles the alcohol in my system, and they're everywhere, and suddenly I'm instantly and incredibly ill. And the same thing happens to another friend. We'll call him friend B, who was also with us. So I'm not going to go into big details. Flash forward, that other friend B, and I are now getting terribly sick in my tiny bathroom with me leaning over the tub and him over the toilet. We're both in the same room.
That's
and it's
disgusting.
going on forever. It's awful. And it's going on forever. And it's awful. And then here's the twist. I might not know what a twist is, but I'm calling this a twist. Because I'm the worst and I can't leave things alone. In all of my agony, I had a thought. What would make this worse?
Oh my God.
What would make this situation worse? And this is what my stupid, weed-addled brain came up with. What if I was in hell? What if something had happened on the way back from the bar and I didn't know it, but I died and gone to hell? And this is what hell was like. This tiny, gross room filled with nausea and agony forever. And I wouldn't know because hell, you have no idea. And I'm never leaving this room. And that dumb idea made me incredibly uncomfortable, understandably. And so I turned to tell my friend, my toilet buddy, about it to get it out of my head and to calm myself down. And he's gone, Pete. I'm alone in the room. At some point, apparently he felt better and didn't say goodbye. He just left, which makes sense. So now I'm alone in hell's bathroom for eternity, and my anxiety is shooting through the roof. I'm paranoid. I'm in hell, and it is one of the worst experiences I've ever had in my life. Thanks, pot. Fun, right, Pete?
Oh, you got a friend in me. Do.
Yeah.
I wonder if hell, by that definition, is wildly overstated.
I'm thinking that it is not like a bunch of brimstone and there's like different things. I think it's just a one-bedroom apartment
in Los Angeles.
But like lines of them.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
Well, yeah, lines of throw-up boxes.
Yeah. Tell me why we're leaning in on your hellish pot experience today.
Because I would like to talk about cannabiphobia. The fear of marijuana. Yes.
Really?
Yes. And I have it. Cannabis relating to cannabis, which of course is another word for marijuana, and phobos, the Greek god of yikes. Real quick, I want to give another disclaimer like I did at the beginning. I'm not going to, at the end of this segment, be talking about how to get over the weed spookies, because it's not legal in all states, and I don't want to glorify or encourage that kind of thing for younger listeners. If our adult listeners are so inclined, there is a vast amount of information on the internet about the positive uses of marijuana and CBD to aid in anxiety and other ailments. For this segment, I'd just like to talk about my and maybe your anxiety about the thing for itself.
Okay.
Now, Pete, I'm not going to ask you to divulge if you've ever tried marijuana if you don't want to divulge it. I wrote if you don't want to devolve it. Is that a word? Devolve it?
Well, you can devolve, but I don't think that's what we're shooting for.
I don't think so. If you want to regress. But I do want to ask if you've ever had any anxiety about trying it.
I would say I have, yes, and also have experiences in my youth that would lead me to be substance anxious. How about
interesting.
That? How about that?
That's very good.
I never told you about the picante sauce, right?
Did you freebase picante sauce?
That might be an after show.
Oh, really? Okay, that sounds terrifying.
It involves so many sequential anxieties that, it was a horrible experience that has scarred me for life, and it ends in picante sauce.
As all wonderful experiences do.
So I would say, largely, I think I don't have a great deal of anxiety because I don't use it, and I am no longer curious about it. I know what the experience is, and I'm just I don't have the need for it. It doesn't. So I feel like that was a chapter, and you're blissfully
free of this.
Yeah, I think so. But to say that I have never been concerned about that, as I think many people probably were in those, in their youth, like. There are certainly reasons to be anxious.
Yeah, I think, and I was trying to examine what mine is, and I think for me, it just mainly comes down to control. Yeah. Take away the fact that it used to not be legal. Now it's legal here. Yeah. And I think it's in Colorado, I think it's mandatory. We'll get to that in a second, but For me, it's about to control, because if I have like a little bit too much to drink, for instance, I can drink water and eat something to counteract the effects. I don't think there's anything you can do for pot. You just got to ride it out.
Yeah,
and that idea is really scary. Anything involving the words trip is like, nope, is a hard pass. Also, unlike alcohol, I have no idea how it'll hit me, when it'll hit me, what my limit is like. And it's done in alleys. Nothing good happens in alleys.
To be fair, to anybody who is a regular user, it doesn't always happen in alleys. And if you're only doing it in an alley, try someplace else.
Yeah, we have vapes now. Try, I don't know, living room. Yeah. Not in alley. Just try that. Yeah. It also occurred to me, I think there's another reason why I might be weed spooked. And I wanted to tell you, can I tell you another story that has nothing to do with use at all?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Because in California and I think 10 other states, it's legal now, and medical marijuana is legal in 34 other states.
Right.
That's how it started in California, is the law shifted, and all of a sudden you just needed to see a doctor to get a medical marijuana pass and to legally visit a dispensary. And I wanted to try it, not to get high, but because I was suffering from very bad anxiety. And this is before I was put on medication. This is before therapy. This was a really long time ago. And California, I don't know what it was like in other places, but it got really interesting, because when that law came into effect, all of a sudden there were just doctors all over the place who seemed to just have practices based in giving out these passes, like literal Dr. Feelgoods. Anyway, so I thought I was of age and I wanted to give it a shot. I wanted some recommendation. I wanted to go to a dispensary and be like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I just need it to calm down or to help sleep. How does this work? So I made an appointment with a doctor who was advertising passes for like $30. Listen to how incredibly legit all this was. Want to guess where his highly esteemed practice was? The Venice Boardwalk. That's right. I don't remember his name. I'm going to call him, let's call him like Dr. Weedhead. Dr. Weedhead's office was sandwiched between a sunglass hut and a stand selling t-shirts saying, and I'll never forget this either. Do you want to know what the t-shirts were saying? Knock, knock. Who's there? Boobs. Full stop. No boobs who, no pun. That's not even basic joke structure. So anyways,
it's awful.
It's also awful. So this guy's practice, and practice should from now on be in quotes.
Yeah.
Consisted of a long hallway lined with chairs filled with a dozen people looking to get this card. And understandably, they're all dressed in t-shirts and flip-flops because they know that the fix is in. They know this isn't like a traditional doctor thing. Me, Pete, because I'm under the impression, A, because I'm me, and B, I'm such a square. I thought this was an actual real doctor-patient situation. I'm wearing pants, a tucked-in button-down shirt. I'm surprised I didn't bring my ascot for this whole thing. Anyway, so I show up and I check in with the nurse by the office door. Want to guess what the nurse was wearing, Pete?
Was it the boobs shirt?
No, actually, she was wearing nothing because the nurse was just a clipboard sitting on a stool. So I just signed my name at the bottom of this very long list of people. I mean, this is a medical marijuana card factory. He is getting people in and out, in and out. So finally, Dr. Smoke 'em Up calls me in. He looked, I remember, like Greg Kinnear. And the other thing I remember, he was wearing a leather jacket, but then had a stethoscope kind of hanging around his neck. Like the laziest doctor costume I'd ever seen. And he starts asking me what I'm suffering from. And I'm nervous as heck because, you know, even though I'm not lying, and I want it for good reasons, something about this just seems dodgy. I needn't have worried about anything. He asked what I was suffering from, and I said, well, sometimes I have a little trouble getting to sleep. And he immediately says, oh, so chronic insomnia?
I'm surprised he didn't interrupt you before the word asleep.
I know.
Sometimes I have trouble getting chronic anything.
Yeah. Yeah, he should have just held up like a doll and say, show me on the doll where
you want to get high.
Yeah. So he says chronic insomnia, and I'm still not getting it. So I go, no, I wouldn't say that. It's more like it takes me a while because my head is swirling. And he says, oh, so chronic insomnia matched with constant headaches? Like he's really just clicking off things. And I finally get it, and I go, sure. And I said, I also get anxious. And he said, oh, so crippling anxiety that makes it impossible to function? And I said, yeah, sure, that. Like I realized this is all ridiculous.
At what point did you take off your shirt and put your flip-flops on, like in the office? I imagine you just giving up.
Yeah, totally. I really should have. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like eating a sandwich or something, like snacks. There's one last thing I remember. At one point, I asked him, just sort of making conversation, because he actually did have like a lot of paperwork he needed to do. I just didn't need to be there.
Yeah.
And I asked him how many of these cards he does a day. Just making conversation. That was the wrong question to ask. He puts his folder down and just stares at me suspiciously.
Because he thinks you're a narc.
He asked if I was from the DEA. And I said, what? And he said, you have to tell me if you're in the DEA. If I ask and you're in the DEA, you have to tell me, which, number one, I absolutely didn't. And number two, I'm not with the DEA. So great. So this guy giving me access to a drug that can cause paranoia is getting paranoid in front of me. Anyways, that's pretty much the story. He gave it to me. I got the card, but because marijuana made me so nervous, I ended up really only using it once, and I never went back. I did at one point want to, when my anxiety, like a year and a half later, got significantly worse. I was going to give it another try, so I tried to call his office to get it re-upped.
Let me guess. It was not there.
No, he apparently had gotten busted on something and had moved his practice to Hawaii. So he was long gone.
I just feel like there's a sign that says moved behind the Ferris wheel. Like, just like.
Yeah, he's just on Muscle Beach.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So you can understand why from the get-go, the whole thing was dodgy and weird. And I think that probably contributes to some of my anxiety about the whole thing.
Oh, my goodness. Totally. Yeah. Well, and it really doesn't help that, we spent, and you and I in particular grew up during the age of demonization of marijuana. Right. And I've grown up not sharing that view. I do not believe that it is a substance that should be demonized broadly. I think I think responsible use can be both therapeutic and enjoyable, and I for those people who do use it, more power to you. But I can absolutely relate to that feeling of I've spent decades having people in authority telling me that people who do this thing are terrible people, dirty people, criminals, and you don't want to be one of those people, so don't do this thing.
And then even just like such bald-faced lies of like, well, the one thing, it really leads to violent aggression. What?
No, it leads to snacking. It's like settled science.
Yeah, it leads to flaming hot Cheetos. That's the most agitated thing.
It leads to gastrointestinal disaster, but not to anybody else.
So that's my walk with it. So I want to let everyone know, if anyone else is worried about it, who cares? Live your life. I'm not going to be doing it because it doesn't work out for me. But I do, as soon as this pandemic is over, I got a plane ticket to Hawaii. Which is weird because I don't even need the card anymore. I just want to see how he's doing.
Just check in on Dr. Puffin stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for joining us for this episode. This week's tune is Belong to You by Gnasher.
I'm Tommy Metz III.
And I'm Pete Wright. Thank you for downloading. As we said in the beginning, this is the end of Season 5. Thank you all for hanging out with us. A very special thanks to our Season 5 Panic Pals. It is much more fun to invest our time and energy to this show thanks to you. So to our Panic Pals, very special hats off thanks. And I hope to see some pictures of some framed certificates of best friendship hanging
that's right.
Maybe above mantles or in offices.
They're coming in the mail.
I think that maybe a certificate of best friendship should go right next to your degree from your medical school or some other college. You know, something to really class up the joint.
Yep.
That's what I'm thinking.
Your medical dispensary card.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. So thank you all for doing this, for being with us, for riding along this season. We have decided, yes, we are going to come back. We've got a couple of members-only, Season 5 members-only episodes that are coming in the next month or two while we re-gear for Season 6. So keep those anxieties coming. Thank you all very much for hanging out with us. Until next season, this has been What? That smell?